Got a question here by Callum. Could you please make a video on how to start getting your first property? What do I need? Who do you talk to get advice? First of all, not me. I don't give financial advice. This is just generic personal opinion. Now let's talk about the hierarchy of influence. Let's not talk about the hierarchy of advice, because none of these people can actually give you financial advice except, maybe your accountant or your financial planner. Now, when first home buyers like yourself, Callum, ask me these questions, I go, well, let's look at the hierarchy of influence, right? First, you have the media. And I'll highlight the pro and the cons, and I'll separate it in this kind of column. The pro side of the media is that they give you exposure to, what people are doing, the good and the bad. But the cons of listening to the media for, your exposure to buying property is that most of it is negative news. And mostly it's sensationalized news, which means they cherry pick the worst story out of the stories they could have picked. So for example, if 100% quantifies your, exposure or attention that you give to certain sources for buying your first property, the media should take about 5%. The next rung of influence is colleagues. You might ask them, hey, the same question, what was your first buying property experience? And then the pro side is, and then if you ask them, they'll give you their personal experience. But the cons of speaking with these guys is that their experience might be clouded. Like for example, they might be very risk averse and they'll project that onto you. If it was for me, I'll only allocate 10% of my attention span in terms of buying a property towards listening to colleagues. Then you move on to your next rung, which is your friends or your, mates. Again, pro side, they'll tell you their experience and all that stuff, and same like colleagues. The cons is that, their judgment could be clouded. But then again, be careful of mates, especially the mates rates and they refer you to another person. For example, your mate might refer you to a buyer's agent or another property agent, and then in the middle, behind the table, they get a cut. Remember, mates rates is never mates rates. I'll say allocate 15% of your attention span into mates. Now next is your fam, which is the next rung above the influence of colleagues and friends. Now family could be good, but it really depends on whether your family is like liberal, open-minded, or bloody old school. You've got like old-timer parents that are like, oh, don't buy property, that's very scary. Then freaking hell, you're screwed. Especially if your family has never bought property in their life, or they've always been renting for the rest of their life, that's the worst place to get your advice from. Or if your family is good, or they've purchased the property before, or maybe, they're a potential guarantor for your next property purchase, then allocate maybe 25% to these guys. So in total, you already spent 55% of your attention span towards these people for buying your first property. Now next is your partner. I'll say maybe allocate 1 to 2% when you're speaking to your partner, especially if you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. I'm assuming you're in your early 20s, Callum, so who cares what they think? Because, after 10 years, you might not be marrying this person anyway. Next rung, or the next two rung, is the financial planner and the accountant. They should account for 30% of your decision making because they can actually give you financial advice. That's if you have a financial planner or accountant. When you add this up and that up and your partner, then you have made up 87% of your attention span. And the rest of the 13% should be you. Because you need to take responsibility of what you do, whether it's wrong or right, you need to own up to it. To answer the second part of your question is, what do I need? Well, number one thing that you need is that you need bloody income. Then you need to speak to a banker or a mortgage broker to work out your borrowing capacity. Number three, you obtain a pre-approval, and a pre-approval can last up to 90 days. With this pre-approval, you can then determine how much you can borrow so that you can determine your budget when buying your next first property. I tell my first home buyers, a pre-approval is also known as a cock block. You try to buy into certain suburbs or certain price range, and the pre-approval just will block your eggplant. Really slap you in the face and go, well, Callum, this is all you can purchase, so either purchase that or go get more income or savings. So Callum, if you do this and you do this, and then you turn this around and these become two big testicles, and then you have a massive eggplant, and you can smash it into the property market and not become a property virgin anymore.